Introduction. Public Bank is a bank that provides financial service and Islamic banking. In 1966, Public Bank was established and the founder is Tehopio. Public Bank is the greatest lender and fund operator as well as it holds 250 branches in Malaysia. Deposit account, credit cards, home loans, and insurance plans are available in the Public Bank. Maybank. Kutepra founded Maybank on May 31, 1960. Maybank is the greatest financial service firm in Malaysia, the fourth biggest bank in Southeast Asia and the greatest Asian bank in Malaysia. Maybank was formed in 2011 through a merger with Singapore King & Holdings. Maybank is strong in Singapore, especially in regional investment bank Maybank King & Holdings.
The source of Public Bank credit risk is principally from its lending and financings to retail consumer, small and medium-sized companies, and corporate clients. Credit risk of Public Bank will be higher when lending to SME as small businesses has difficulty to meet the criteria for venture capitalized since their projects are often small in scale. There are several reasons for that and why banks associate smaller firms with higher risk. The ability for SME to repay a loan is clearly connected with the ability for the firm to generate cash flow. A decreased cash flow makes it more difficult for the firms to repay the loan and cover the cost of interest. For the market risk, the risk that fluctuation in market factors such as interest rate, foreign exchange, and equity. Public bank non-traded market risks such as interest rate, foreign exchange, equities that primarily from the assets and liability of retail and commercial banking, as well as for financial investment that have been determined to be at fair value through other income statement and amortized costs. For the foreign exchange risk, it has negative impact on foreign currency balance resulting from treasury money market transactions, investment and retained earnings made by public banks in its overseas subsidiary and branches where the functional currency are not ringgit Malaysia. United States dollars and Hong Kong dollars are the two primary foreign currencies used in public bank commercial transactions. For the interest risk to the group profit and economic value of equity from unfavorable changes in the interest rate resulting from operations like accepting deposit, lending or financings and investing. It also has impact on the company net interest income and economic value of equity. For the equity risk, is the risk of unfavorable effect on stock investment held by the public bank group for dividend purposes as a result of changes in equity prices. Lastly, we have identified operational is also one of the risks that faced by public bank. In 2020, it was a challenging year with the COVID-19 epidemic bringing several industries to a near total halt. To adapt to the new normal and standard operational procedures requires to protect the safety of employees and customers as well as to minimize interruptions in the delivery of financial service. Public bank in 2020 underwent several operation changes. Besides that, due to the movement control orders, Public Bank to ensure smooth banking operations and the continued functioning of all crucial activity resources were immediately reprioritized and redistributed.
For the credit risk of Maybank, credit risk is the risk of loss of principal or income arising from a failure of an obligor or counterparty to perform their contractual obligation in accordance with agreed terms. It stems primarily from lending, underwriting, trading, and investment activities from both on and off-balance sheet transactions. Maybank IB exposure to credit risk arise primarily from underwriting commitment, lending, counterparty, share trading, and over-the-counter OTC derivative transaction. The risk associated with a counterparty defaulting on present and future payment as stipulated under contract for treasury-related activity is known as counterparty credit risk. The group lending activities as well as investment and treasury activities which have an impact on the group trading and banking books through transaction in foreign exchange, money market instrument, fixed income securities, commodities, equities, and the over-counter derivative at the source of counterparty credit risk. So market risk of Maybank divide into three risks. The first one will be foreign exchange risk. The group and the bank to the extent practical lessen the impact of the currency risk by funding the foreign activities with borrowing and deposit received in the same functional currency of the various overseas locations. Foreign exchange derivatives are also used to hedge the foreign exchange exposure. The second one will be equity price risk. It results from unfavorable change in the share price of quote equity investment that have a negative impact on the market-to-market value of quote equity investment for the group and the bank. Share price of listed equity investment and change in stock market indicated floated in direct proportion to one another. The third risk will be interest rate risk. The risks are imposed to the group and the bank by the effect of change in the existing level of market interest rate on the financial position and cash flow. Group ELCO have developed restriction, and procedure that identify, quantify, monitor, and control interest rate risk exposure. So the third one will be operation risk of Maybank. So operation risk is the chance of suffering a loss because of inadequate or unsuccessful internal procedure, personal system, and outside occurrence. Every commercial organization has its natural and is deal with a wide range of problem. Risk in corporate operation, internal control merchandise, and governments contain risks that might appear during routine business operation, like violation of internal governance and control. The group business are inevitable fraught with credit quality risk. So Maybank posted a 2.3% fall on quarterly net profit weighed by lower operating income mainly due to the continuous impact from the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. According to Maybank, net operating income for quarterly declined by 6.5% to 6.08 billion ringgit versus a year ago, as total net fund-based income drops 8.7% to 4.13 billion ringgit. Loan loss provision are expected to remain elevated, and it will mitigate expected lower income by stepping up its strategic cost management program to limit increase in overhead.
Banks and Public Finance Compliance Department test for compliance with regulatory, operational, and credit standard in specific business unit in high-risk sector. The credit extensions and measurement standard, the credit assessment approval and monitoring procedure, and the loan categorizations and provisioning system are all outlined in its credit policy. To monitor and manage credit risk exposure such as connected exposure, significant exposure, and risk concentration limit established by relevant board or dedicated committee. The Credit Underwriting Review Committee (CURC) is tasked with considering and reviewing credit proposal underwriting commitments, managing Maybank credit risk and credit portfolio under the rules and guidelines set up by the Security Commissions and Bursa Malaysia. Throughout credit risk identifications, evaluations, approval, measurements, monitoring, and mitigating, these policies also set single counter concentration limits and single counterparty exposure limit to prevent an excessive concentrations of credit risk on specific nations, business segment, economic sector, or customer groups. Operational risk exposure are tracked and escalated to management for early warning signal of rising operational risk or a breakdown in operational risk management using the relevant key indicator. For monitoring and controlling operational risk, the ORMC regularly receive and compiles operational risk management report from various sources. RMC to guarantee that operational risk inside Maybank is identified, monitored, managed, and reported in a systematic. Operational risk management (ORM) at Maybank strive to control anticipated losses while reducing unexpected and catastrophic losses. ORM2, including incident management and data collection risk and control self-assessment and key risk indicator. Operational risk awareness sharing sessions will be held regularly to increase risk awareness at Maybank.
In relation to the public bank, according to the annual report, in order to mitigate the market risk, public bank strictly prohibits imitative trading activities which require the board's approval. Also, public bank analyzes and evaluates economic and market conditions regularly in order to recognize the part that may pose a market risk. And when exposure goes beyond the specific stated risk appetite, the foreign exchange risk and return risk or interest rates will be hedged by the bank. Not only that, but the bank will also conduct certain functional internal controls and develop market risk procedures and policies. In relation to the Maybank, as stated in the annual report, in order to mitigate the market risk, Maybank makes preparation in executing Basel interest rate risk in the banking book standard across the company. In addition, in order to address forecast changes in business strategy and risk profile, Maybank Group trading account limits are analyzed and evaluated semi-annually. Apart from that, in addition to regular stress testing and day-to-day limit monitoring, ad hoc stress testing as well as thematic reviews are conducted to gain perception into the trading book and bank exposures.
In conclusion, it has highlighted the main risks mostly faced by the both company are credit, market, and operational risk. The credit risk management of Maybank is more effective than public bank because Maybank has set single counter concentration limit and single counterparty exposure limit to avoid an excessive concentration of credit risk on certain country, business segment, economic sector, or customer group. For operational risk management, Maybank can effectively reduce operational risk as they have management procedure when event of substantial system and business interaction in place to ensure basic company operation and minimize losses. For market risk, Maybank can effectively reduce market risk as they have set rules which Maybank Group trading account limitation are inspected and evaluated semi-annually.